We now welcome Ms. Audrey Richards, a director of the board of Scotiabank and the private capital consultant at the Development Bank of Jamaica, to talk with us about defining growth and identifying opportunities. Please make her welcome.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the few gentlemen that are here, I just want to start off by saying thank you to the Scotia team for inviting me to be here this morning. And I'm certainly honored to be spending some time with you all here this morning. I know that there has to be something special about each of our female entrepreneurs here that the Scotia team would have seen in selecting you to be part of this initiative. Now, I don't know the stories of each of your entrepreneurial journeys, but I have no doubt that there are many differences in your motivation to go into business, how you started, how you got funded, and so on. Whenever I think of the entrepreneurial journey, I remember a quote from Shakespeare. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Some entrepreneurs set out from day one to be entrepreneurs. Maybe they are born with if there is an entrepreneurial gene. Some do set up the business based on their expertise or their experience, and some fall into entrepreneurship. Whatever the journey differs, but the fact of the matter is that you're here today. I want to tell you just a quick story about one of the amazing entrepreneurs that I had the opportunity to work with as a young manager in the financial services. She actually recruited me into NCB Investments early in my career. And that was Joan Duncan, who started the JMB Group. Now, Joan, I don't know, maybe Joan had all three. Maybe she set out from day one to be an entrepreneur, because she did have some small businesses that she did run over from time to time. Some was based, maybe she went into entrepreneurship based on her expertise, which she did. And maybe she got it thrust upon her. I think it was a combination of all three. Joan was in corporate. She, as I said, recruited me into NCB Investments. At that time, and at a couple years down the road, Joan was moved out of her job as manager and more into a staff position. And I think at that point in time, she recognized that she was being sidelined. You know, corporates, this can happen from time to time. And she decided she had the expertise because the commercial paper market had started. There was a lot of activity that we were doing in commercial paper markets, in repos and so on. And she, at some point, I think if she had, I don't know, maybe if she had remained in her manager position, she might have stayed there until retirement and doing whatever. But at a point in time, she was faced with her being sidelined, and she decided, well, I can't quote exactly what Joan said. If anybody knows Joan, it would have been colorful. And she decided that she was going to step out and set up her business. And the JMB Group was born. You know, I don't know, the space might have been maybe as big as this little corner here. And the JMB is what it is today. I tell you that story to say that our journeys are all different, but at some point in time, people make a decision. And what was good at the time for Joan was that the Jamaica Venture Fund had been established, and it had been funded by various corporates and was run. And she was able to get support from that venture fund to start her business and to get the mentorship from the chairman of that fund. Now, countries across the world which have had flourishing GDPs, have had growth, high growth, have all had flourishing GDP, capital markets. And unfortunately, with our experiences in Jamaica, with the lack of capital, it is amazing to see entrepreneurs such as yourselves continue to strive and be counted. So you all need to give yourselves a clap for that. So when I started off just now by saying I'm honored to be here, it wasn't not just about pleasantries, but I'm truly lifting my hat to you, the entrepreneurs here. So we have faced a dearth of capital since, and I mean, Joan started that in the early 90s. We have faced a dearth of capital over the last 30 years. And I know we have had the ups and downs of high interest rates, financial sector crises. Interest rates were, when I used to do project finance, we started off with a base of 30% as the interest rate, and then we added for risk. Now, I don't know what business could have survived in those days, and they didn't. A lot of them, really went under. So what is probably common about everyone here is that you're operating your business and you're looking for growth, you're looking for sustainable growth, and you want your business to be successful. But what does growth and success mean? I mean, we can objectively measure growth from year to year, percentage growth over the prior year and over the year before, revenue growth, customer acquisition, net profits, and so on. We can benchmark what was done previously and benchmark against the competition to know whether or not our efforts have been successful. Now, growth could be occurring within the same or new products, within the same or new markets. Your business is creating a quality product or service. Your customers, employees, shareholders, and other stakeholders are happy. So when it comes to scaling your business and measuring growth, it can be done pretty objectively. When it comes to measuring success in achieving your goals, however, this can be measured objectively, but there is a subjective aspect, as success means different things to different people. I'd just like to pause here for a moment and hear from one or two persons just what your vision of success is for your business. Anybody wants to share?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you. We want to make sure everyone hears. Please take the mic and introduce yourself again and the name of your business. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Are you hearing me? Mm-hmm. Okay, morning again, everyone. My name is Kidis Collins, and I'm the co-owner of Dresses, Gifts, and Decor. I'm also a past Scotiabank Vision Achiever. For me, over the years operating my business, what I have used to measure my success is practical things, realistic things, and one of them is freedom of time. Being able to be in a room like this, and people might take it for granted that time is something that you don't spend. Mm-hmm. True, but there's currency in time, and so being able to do things like this will help to grow my business. Also, being able to impact sustainably. We have a corporate responsibility. While we're making profits or making real money, giving back is also very important in business. And so being able to, yes, achieve the profits, increase those profits, spending time, and also making an impact. That is high on my list of being successful in business.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else wants to share? Somebody at the back there.
Good morning, everyone. Jackie, Stewart's Automotive Group. So I think as women, we're maternal. So as you mentioned, the corporate social responsibility is a very big piece. The low-hanging fruit, obviously, is going to be revenue and net profit because we have to survive. But I also think employment. It may sound simple, but the more that we grow, we know we're touching more families, and we can build our country in a very structured way. So for me, it's all about growing ourselves, our family, our business, and our staff.
Thank you. And I think we have one more at the back.
Hi, morning everyone. My name is Vanessa Allen, and I've been with Scotia for 25 years. My business is Core Communications. We're affiliated with Cable and Wireless, or Flow. I have seen from 1999 the growth that Scotia has assisted me with. So we moved from 1 location until 11, and now we have an employment of over 75, and that's my measurement that I used, starting with 2 and growing to 75, not to mention our revenue and profit growth. So I thank Scotia for journeying with me, and that's why I'm here this morning.
Thank you. I'll just ask the room generally, is there anybody here who sees their company listed on the stock exchange somewhere in the near future? Okay, thank you. Now, the reason I ask that question is there's no right or wrong. Maya Angelou, and I'm sorry, I'm giving you another quote. Maya Angelou says, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. So whatever success means for you and you're achieving it, it's not just the numbers, it's the whole package. So the reality is that at several points in your business life cycle, you're going to face a strategic decision, whether to scale or not, what products or services to pursue, what to drop, whether to export, whether to stay local. It's important that it's what you want to do, it's what you're comfortable with. At some point in time, you might want to determine that you need to take on partners or shareholders, and you're going to be giving up something in order to get something. So the direction you take is going to be a combination of things. Your personal goals and measures of success. If you take on a business partner, their own goals and measures of success, hopefully they're aligned with you if you've chosen correctly. Your business model and how scalable it is, and changes in the market environment and whether there is now a need to pivot or die. The reality is that sometimes this re-examination of strategy may not have been previously contemplated, but is thrust upon us. We've all seen the pace of innovation, technological change, and what this has meant for businesses, not only in Jamaica, but across the world. Disruptors have disrupted traditional businesses, and what's interesting is that with this acceleration of pace of change, the disruptors themselves are now being disrupted. So growth within this context is not easy, whether globally or in Jamaica. And of course, we have our own particular challenges in Jamaica. Jamaica is a small, open economy, very import dependence. That makes us susceptible to external shocks, imported inflation, energy prices, commodity prices, and so on. Climate change, natural disasters, and the economic shocks those bring. Those are all things that we have been exposed to. We've been told to export or die, but when we examine the sectors which receive a lot of funding, many of these have been involved in consumption or distribution, etc., as opposed to those that are probably exportable. And when we're examining our cost structures, the productivity levels, I mentioned energy costs and other inefficiencies, we have to wonder whether we can, at the end of it all, price our product or service to compete in an export market. Tourism is the largest employer, but suffers from a lack of deep linkages across other sectors of the economy. The fact of the matter is the addressable market in Jamaica within Jamaica for potentially high growth businesses is relatively small. For lifestyle businesses, it may in most instances be adequate to support the needs of that business. But for those looking for high, sustainable growth, the market size is a constraint. Now, access to capital has been a major issue faced in most instances, as I mentioned earlier. And businesses face it, whether they are startup businesses or right through the mature growth stage. It sounds pretty scary, and again, it's definitely a reason to salute our intrepid spirit, the intrepid spirit of our entrepreneurs. But even with those challenges, I would like to say here today that where entrepreneurship is concerned, there has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in Jamaica than now. There are government efforts, whether through various ministries, departments, agencies, that are looking to support entrepreneurs. Government has a stated goal of creating an enabling environment and democratizing access to capital. The GOJ, and all that means is that you don't have to have a rich uncle or a rich aunt to be able to get started in a business and get the support that you need to make it through, especially those early years, which they call the valley of death. So the government has, through the DBJ and other entities, has funded grant programs, has established credit guarantees, and provided support to the development of the private capital markets. The work that I have done over the last few years at the DBJ has been developing the private capital markets, the markets for private equity, markets for venture capital. We're about to launch, I guess, the first real venture capital fund since the Jamaica Venture Fund, which funded JMMB 30 years ago. We're about to launch that. In the last few years, we have been an anchor investor this will be our 10th fund. And as an anchor investor, we're not running the fund. The private sector is a private capital fund. It's not a government, something for the government to run. But the private sector manages it. We're just an anchor investor. And by being an anchor investor, what that does is that encourages private capital to invest in the fund. By us being in there, the perception, the risk level is perceived to be lower. So, other government initiatives, registering a business faster, obtaining licenses, taxes, customs, the SEZ, all of these are meant to support the entrepreneurship. Now, private institutions such as Scotia and other banks and other financial players have significantly expanded the types of products and services available to businesses. There are opportunities for mentoring, networking, and meeting persons who can support your activities. The business models have evolved, and there is greater access to affordable resources and new markets at a fraction of the costs which would have faced entrepreneurs. And I'm talking about being able to access online platforms for your HR or advertising through social media, employing human capital from somewhere across the world without having to host them or whatever. So there's a lot that has gone on in this space when it comes to entrepreneurship. Access to, as I mentioned, funding and partial credit guarantees. There's an increased availability of receivables financing. It's not where we would want it to be, but there's still that availability. And for those of you looking to raise equity capital, you have options by getting an angel investor to invest in your business, capital markets through private equity, as I mentioned, SME funds that are looking for good prospects to co-invest, and doing an IPO. And I should mention the SME funds, the private equity funds, most of these are not permanent capital. They invest in your business where they see the potential and they support you in putting in place a proper governance and structures to be able to scale your business, and then they exit at a later date. So for women in particular also, so none of these existed before, and for women in particular also, it's been recognized that special support was required. And initiatives such as the Scotia Women Initiative, this is evidence that we're not just paying lip service, but that the support is now real. No, I'm not saying that there's not still considerable room for improvement, but I'm saying that both public and private sector efforts are supporting entrepreneurs and business owners have significantly increased. This has significantly increased over the last decade. As I mentioned just now, there has been a serious lack of capital for businesses, given the rocky road we've experienced since the 90s. Now, apart from the fact that we've been an anchor investor and we have been the catalyst for the development of the capital markets, there's been a lot of work that DBJ has done with education and changing what we believe, changing the perception of risk in the markets. We still have a long way to go, but I believe I can say without fear of being corrected that Jamaica is way ahead of the rest of the Caribbean. I was in Bahamas and Barbados recently for some presentations, and everybody is looking for Jamaica. There's no reason why Jamaica should not be officially the capital markets and the entrepreneurship hub of the Caribbean. So with all of this, what's the responsibility for you, the business owners? It's important for you to do your self-assessment and to determine where you want to position your company in order to take advantage of the opportunities. When you're thinking about growth, we just discussed now, what does success mean? There's objective measure of growth, but then there's an overall package. So define what it means for you. Define what is your desired outcome for you and for your business. Not because everybody is going to be, looking to do an IPO means that this is the right thing for you and your business. Look at what's happening now in your business. Look at your options for scalability, whether it's in the local markets or the international markets. What is it that's going to take you there? With many options for support, identify those with whom you wish to align your support of your businesses. Now, as you're thinking about growth, my newest hobby horse, I would implore you that you lay the foundation for resilient, sustainable growth. And in this current environment, this includes climate change. So many programs are being developed to support you when it comes to developing that resilience. I would also say quickly that you need to work with your associations. Press them if there's advocacy that is needed through your PSOJ or GMEA or SBAJ. If there's advocacy that is needed to enhance the enabling environment. You recognize that you're not alone. The governments are listening, the banks are listening, and there is power in numbers. So within the Jamaican context, it's important for businesses to organize to solve programs together. As I end my comments, I want to touch on the issue of trust. The reality is that over the years, many studies have shown that Jamaicans suffer from a trust deficit. Does anybody agree or disagree? When we started this work to develop the private equity and venture capital markets, which was just about the time that the JC Junior market was started, just after, the feedback from the market was that Jamaican entrepreneurs would not seek equity investments as they would not trust potential partners and do not want to reveal information on their companies or to either private partners or to the public if they're listed. What I've seen, on the other hand, is quite revealing. I don't want to say that this is an age demographic, as the junior market has many examples of mature entrepreneurs and family businesses going public. What I've seen, however, on the part of young entrepreneurs is that they're ready to pitch their business models in order to get access to capital. So the issue of trust, I believe, is tied up with the perception of risk. And how much risk one is willing to take is linked to what benefits are perceived, which outweigh the risk. Taking on an equity partner is risky. You might not be, marriage is risky. But if the capital and access to markets which this partner brings are in line with your desire for high growth, then the benefits may be worth the risk. Just choose wisely. Do make sure there is that courtship period of getting to know and not just looking for capital and giving up all your power. Make sure you retain the power to assess who your partners are and to choose wisely. So I've seen a change in Jamaica's entrepreneurial ecosystem over the last 10 years. Trust will still take a lot of work. There'll always be ups and downs in the environment with impactness. But it's important for partnerships which are needed for growth. So choose partners that align with your vision, your goals, and your values. I'm sure the relationship with Scotia is a partner, definitely, which has those qualities. So ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure this morning to share my thoughts with you. And I wish you all a great morning and continued success in your businesses. Thank you.
Wonderful.